Welcome back, smartphone fans, to Smartphone Wars, the place for honest, hands-on reviews on the tech you want to buy. And today I have here for you the video that you all requested. Sitting out there wondering which is the best budget phone for around $250 that I can buy right now on the market. And I have here the best solutions: the Meizu M6 Note and the Xiaomi Android One. Which is the better phone, the Xiaomi Mi Android One or the M6 Note, and most importantly, which has better cameras? And more questions will be answered as well, but let's meet our contestants. And this is the M6 Note, and this is the Xiaomi Mi Android One, hands-on real life usage. So both devices are actually very good in terms of build quality. I couldn't find anything wrong with them. Solid devices, very well built. And they actually look alike since they're both 5.5-inch phablets. But there are some differences, like the fingerprint scanner for instance. The Mi A1 uses a rear fingerprint scanner while the M6 Note uses a front one, but both are actually very accurate and reliable and unlock very fast. Both are powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 625 chip, which is by far the best mid-range chip that Qualcomm have done and offers efficiency and enough gaming performance. When it comes to cameras, both feature dual cameras, but the Meizu M6 Note features a larger aperture and also features a much better front camera. Both phones offer 4K video recording and Full HD video from the front cameras. Other noticeable differences are the battery size. The M6 Note comes with a 4000 mAh unit, while the Mi A1 comes with a 3080 mAh unit. The M6 Note also features an M-Charge fast charging technology, while the Mi A1 just uses a regular fast charger. Both devices are tin consuming the batteries and the differences is quite small, but the Mi A1 on the top has a bonus IR blaster. On the bottom, both feature headphone jack single speaker, but the Mi A1 uses USB Type-C, while the M6 Note uses the older micro USB port. But that doesn't make any real difference in real life if compared to cables or anything. Both phones measured side by side and held in the hand. The Meizu M6 Note is around 15 grams heavier because of the bigger battery, but both phones are, as I said, very solid, very well built, and offer that great phablet experience on a budget with great specs, but feature different software experiences. Both actually have Android 7.1 Nougat, but the Flyme OS is very different to stock Android and is much more like iOS when it comes to navigation. Instead of using capacitive and on-screen keys, Flyme OS uses the single M-Touch home button for navigation, and for multitasking you have to swipe up from the bottom, and the shades come to the left instead of the usual top to bottom shades like they are with like tiles in stock Android. And the multitasking is also opened differently. You see, both phones use the same Android 7.1 Nougat. But as far as languages are concerned, the Meizu M6 Note still doesn't have a global ROM and just has English and Chinese languages, while the Android one features plenty of languages and it has updates by Google themselves. And now let's talk more about performance between these two devices, since this is something that most of you want to know. As said previously, the Snapdragon 625 Power and Board is absolutely the same clock speed. It's an octa-core chip made by Qualcomm, which the 8 cores can go up to around 2.1 GHz, and both feature a Full HD display, very good panel, 60 Hz, and have all the sensors you need, like magnetometer and gyroscope, for viewing VR videos if you want them to. As I said, the biggest difference between both devices is actually the cameras, as the Meizu M6 Note uses a Sony IMX362 with large aperture and large pixel size, while the Xiaomi Mi A1 uses an OmniVision sensor which has a modest f2.2 aperture but still has a larger pixel size as 1.25. And now let's check the real performance by starting with how fast the phones turn off and how fast they turn on. And you will definitely think that the stock Android from Google should be faster here, but the reality is absolutely the opposite. The Flyme OS powers on and powers off much faster than the Google Android One. And even here, in just a second, you'll see that the M6 Note is ready for use and on the desktop or home screen, while the Android One I have to then first use the lock screen, and then it takes around 10-15 seconds more to get to the home screen in general. When it comes to the GPS, both phones are very good actually when it comes to locking the position, but the Mi A1 is definitely the faster lock in the GPS and a better GPS phone. What's the real difference in real life? Well, actually I couldn't tell, but if you want your phone to lock like instantly on a die-hard situation for 2-3 seconds, the Mi A1 is the better GPS phone. These both use the same 4G LTE modem. I didn't find any real differences in using 4G data speed. However, on Wi-Fi, I did notice that the M6 Note for some reason did much better with the upload speed than the Mi A1. And next up we have the speaker quality test from both devices. My personal opinion that both speakers are actually very loud and very clear and deliver very rich sounding experience. However, the Mi A1 for me just slightly edges the M6 Note when it comes to the bass especially. But comparing both displays, M6 Note and Mi A1 deliver a top quality experience for the budget price you're asking. The main differences actually that I've noticed is not about brightness, because I do believe both offer decent brightness for LCD panels in this price range. The main difference that I noticed is that on default settings the Mi A1 uses a slightly warmer color tone, while the M6 Note prefers a more cooler one. However, as you can see, I think that both displays, if fine-tuned like color saturation and stuff like that, are practically identical and feature as good as blacks as any $200 phone. They are very good displays at this price range. They're not AMOLED panels, they're not OLED panels, but the Full HD IPS display on both will deliver top daily driver experience, and for the price you'll definitely be satisfied with it. And now on to benchmarks. Both use the same Snapdragon 625, and in general benchmarks like Antutu and Geekbench, the difference is very minor, as I said, almost close to nothing. In Geekbench, the strange thing is that the M6 Note and Flyme OS actually have better multitasking performance, while the Mi A1 uses better single core performance. And in the PC Mark score, the Mi A1 scores faster than the M6 Note. When it comes to different benchmarks, I did find that the Mi A1 was an absolutely much better storage device, storage speeds than the M6 Note, and you can see in the test. However, when it comes to battery life, the difference is exactly the opposite. Note that the Mi A1 delivers a paltry battery experience. Far from it, it delivers around 5 to 7 hours of screen on time, but the M6 Note with the bigger battery delivers around 10 to 12 hours. So this is something that is not a small difference. But what's the actual usage? Opening apps, closing apps. This is mainly due to the software inside, RAM and storage speeds as well. And here the Mi A1 just about edges the M6 Note with the opening, closing apps, multitasking and browsing. But again, I said the difference in real life is maybe something around 5 to 10%. This could be due to the better optimization with the latest security and all the latest features from Google, or could be something else entirely. But checking here, just wanted to let you know what you're seeing on the screen is real, live, actual performance from these phones, and the real difference opening, closing apps, as you can see, is something like half a second or a second, even on 5-6 snap. So I don't think anybody should actually cling on to this when it comes to all the Mi A1 is like a much better performer, but it does generally perform a little bit better opening, closing apps and as a daily driver. And if you're looking to buy this phone and you're not coming from a very fast device like the OnePlus 5, but you've been using like an old J3, J5, A3, A5 from last year, the Mi A1 will actually very much feel like it's the fastest device on the planet, and I'm definitely not kidding. And the M6 Note is not very far behind it, as I've said. But the main differences when using both devices is the general stock Android versus Xiaomi OS experience. And Xiaomi OS, believe it or not, is actually much better suited for multitasking. Not for split screen multitasking that is, but for general multitasking, thanks to that smart touch button on the side where you can switch between your recent apps with just the flick of a button. So when it comes to real life experience, I just definitely put both of them on par, with the Mi A1 just being a tiny bit snappier in my books. And that's it for the daily driver experience. The Mi A1 is slightly faster. And now let's turn to the gaming performance, since this is another area that I'm pretty sure most of you want to know about. And again, Snapdragon 625 versus Snapdragon 625, the results are as expected, almost absolutely identical in any game I've run, and I just want to show you both devices running two very heavy games, and I definitely couldn't tell which one delivers better frame rates. And I believe if there really is a difference, it's like super minimal and you definitely won't notice it. What you really need to know on both devices, as with the Snapdragon 625 Full HD resolution and the configuration that they're both using, is that they are very good for gaming currently, but as how should I put it, as if you're a more avid gamer, if you do more gaming on your device, then I believe the M6 Note is the best solution, not because it's faster, but because of that better battery life that it has. So you get around an hour and a half or two more gaming on it, and this is not a small difference. However, I do want you to really look at tests, and perhaps you see something I don't see, but in my general experience, I do believe both devices feature on par performance when it comes to heavy 3D gaming. While besides the battery life, many of the other things are very tight between both devices. The situations with the camera is not the same. Not that the Mi A1 doesn't have that great portrait mode second camera, but the M6 Note does feature a lot more detail in the shots, and in general my opinion is that the M6 Note is the better camera phone, and not by a small margin. Let me try to elaborate on that. In good lighting conditions, the M6 Note and the Mi A1 will both get you a very good looking photos, and I think around 90% of you probably won't be telling the difference. And I've heard those comments that the M6 Note's portrait mode looks artificial, but when shooting objects instead of people, the Mi A1's portrait mode actually does look more artificial. So in the end, it's all about preferences. But when it comes to actually using sensor for real life photos, taking out the portrait mode, the M6 Note delivers much better quality. You can check here the dynamic range was much better, retaining more details. But the Mi A1 actually was faster to focus and better focus and objects that are very close to it for macro shots, but in very good lighting conditions. And as light goes down, that omnivision sensor with the small aperture really can take the heat, as the M6 Note absolutely destroys the Mi A1 in low light shot. I mean, the differences is just like night and day, as you can see here on this photo. This is absolutely the same photo taken one after the other. You can see the M6 Note provides much more details, and it's the same situation with the front camera. On a good day, good light, the front camera on both devices is pretty much on par, with the M6 Note having a wider sensor, so you can capture more people if you're doing a group selfie. But in low light, the M6 Note absolutely destroys the Mi A1. And when it comes to video recording using 4K video on both devices. I've actually held them side by side and want you to look at the video. The M6 Note and Mi A1 don't have any stabilization on them, but the better sensor on the M6 Note delivers a much less shakier 4K video. So even as a video recording device, and you can see that it also has more detail in my book with a better bitrate than the Mi A1. And now let's wrap it all up for the Xiaomi Mi A1 versus Meizu M6 Note. So if you really want the best cameras money can buy, even at around $300 with very good battery life, but a very different Android experience that I think most of you actually love, especially if you're coming from iOS, the Meizu M6 Note is the best choice I can recommend in the market today, or maybe in the next 6 months even. But if you're all about performance, speed and regular updates with stock Android from the main company Google itself, the Xiaomi Mi Android One offers the best value on the market. This is Stephen Fox. Thank you for watching my Xiaomi Mi Android One versus Meizu M6 Note detailed comparison review. I hope I've helped you into picking one of these absolutely amazing phones for this budget price, because we're now definitely getting a more flagship experience for less money. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe to my channel for more honest in-depth reviews of the smartphones you want to buy.
Stick around.